The New York summer acting programs at the Maggie Flanigan Studio allow actors like Shamikah Martinez to study the Meisner technique in a small personal setting for 6 weeks. In this interview at the studio, Shamikah discusses how she has changed and grown as an actor in just 6 weeks.
Training for me has always felt like using your instrument. I mean, that's pretty much what I came here to do. I had some Meisner background, but it had been years since I had used it. So just kind of finding that playfulness again and that vulnerability. And it's funny because at the end of the 6 weeks, I realized that I had forgotten kind of what the artistry was. Especially once you start working and there's so much business on top of the art, it's easy to forget what the basis is and why we all started doing this in the first place. So I really remembered in my body what it felt like to walk into a scene and be full. And I think I hope I won't forget that again. I really realized how important it is to keep using yourself and keep working on yourself and keep that practice, whether you're on a set or you're not, because it's easy to forget the technique and forget, how worthwhile it all is, and forget how to use your imagination. I realized that I hadn't been using my imagination to its full potential in a lot of jobs that I'd booked because there's so many other things to concentrate on. And taking the summer conservatory was a huge reminder of, what if you ask all those questions? What if you really emotionally prepare? Like, it's even changed my auditioning now on how I approach something. It's not just memorizing lines, and it's like, I knew that, I knew it, I forgot it. How did I forget that? Because if you're not doing all of that, it's not really worth it. I learned how much I missed the craft of acting. Like, really, truly missed it. Because it's magic. How many other people can say that they get to live lifetime, just like different lives in one lifetime? And I don't think I was getting that from some of the roles I was doing because I wasn't approaching it with the technique and the same craft that I knew existed and I knew that I enjoyed, but I had stopped practicing the technique. I really loved the use of imagination in Meisner. I mean, it's like being a kid on a playground, and there are endless possibilities. You don't have to, look in your toolkit and say, I'm missing these experiences, so I don't know how to play this role. So when you're using your imagination, there's actually nothing you can't do. A few weeks into doing the independent activity, I really realized what it was to put the work into it and walk into it that full. It was like I could barely contain myself. And I think that's also sort of when I realized how much it meant to me to be able to get to that place. And we didn't have dialogue. There was no research done and character study. It was just your heart and your soul. And I was like, oh wow, yeah, those things exist. I actually do feel like my auditions are totally different now. Because there's this sense of, you have to get the words right. You have to wear whatever the nurse would wear. What would a nurse wear? And you have to say the right thing to the casting director when you walk in. And again, it's all that business. But now, since taking the classes, I just kind of went back to the root of it, which is, what am I going to live through? What is this thing I'm going to experience? Because this also might be the only time I ever do it. And I had an audition recently, actually, where that was the case. And there were some really unfortunate circumstances in the scene. And I got so upset. Like, I could hardly breathe. And I looked up at the casting director, and she was like, are you okay? I was like, yeah, no, I'm doing the scene. So I was like, oh, I remembered what it was like to just live through this. So now approaching each audition and really doing what it is that I'm supposed to be doing in that scene instead of just reciting memorized lines. I'm really grateful for that reminder. I would recommend taking classes in general to get yourself back in your body. There's so many things thrown at us where we're just out of our body looking at ourselves, going through this chaos of trying to get a job, trying to figure out, how can I get seen for this, or reading this, or understanding this text, that we're just not in our bodies. And, studying and getting back to that is important, whether you're a series regular on a thing, or you're starring in a play, or you've never done it before. It's like I got to know myself again, weirdly. Charlie is honest, which I appreciate, because there's a lot of not honest in this industry. And that's not helpful when you're trying to grow as an artist, and you're trying to learn, and you're trying to figure out your craft and your technique and who you are. You don't want someone teaching you so that you'll keep taking their classes. You want someone teaching you because they really care about this. And I still remember the first interview to get into the program, just thinking, oh wow, I want to learn from this person. He really cares about this. And there's no way that some of that residual love for it is not going to rub off on me. And I think it did.
Learn more about Meisner training and the summer acting programs at the Maggie Flanigan Studio by visiting the acting programs page on the studio website. Serious students who have questions about the schedule and enrollment should call the studio at 917-789-1599.